Okay, well, thanks for joining us today, and we're going to talk everything to do with water reuse. Firstly, let's get to know what is the water dialogue on water reuse, and get to know a little bit more about the program.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. So the Global Dialogue on Water Reuse is a joint effort by the WateReuse Association and the International Desalination and Reuse Association, with sponsors from Veolia, the International Code Council, the North American Development Bank, and the Alliance for Water Stewardship. It's also a RAP action, part of the EPA's Water Reuse Action Plan, Action 11.5. And in general, the dialogue brought together utilities, consultants, practitioners, industrial water users, and many other folks from various different water sectors to talk about the status, drivers, challenges, barriers, and opportunities to advancing water reuse globally, the adoption of water reuse globally. So the idea was, first and foremost, information sharing. So what are the various different countries within these different sectors doing to advance water reuse? Are there specific communication strategies or regulations that are specifically appealing or open access that other countries should know about? And so we gathered a lot of this information, and it will be synthesized in a white paper that we plan to publish in 2025 that will capture, again, the feedback that various participants in these sessions had. And it will be also have recommendations and action items for how we can advance water use globally. The format and model was inspired by the UN 2023 Water Conference. You may remember in March of 2023, the UN held a conference, and they had this water action agenda with various development goals, and one of these goals, I believe Sustainable Development Goal 6, focuses on water, and they have 5 accelerators for progress, and we use those kind of 5 accelerators and tweaked them a bit, and focused our conversation in this dialogue on communications, financing, technology, and then governance, so institutions and policies, and how do all of these topics affect water reuse globally. So again, what are some effective communication strategies that were used in one area related to a specific type of reuse, and how can that be applied to other regions? And so we're hoping that from these sessions we can share innovative technologies and innovative solutions that other countries can look to guide either their water recycling regulations or partnerships, ways to get engaged. So yeah, it's information sharing and an opportunity to collaborate and figure out how to fill in the gaps and address some of these barriers so we can advance water recycling with a specific focus on less developed countries, but globally in general.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of value can be gained from information sharing, and there's a lot of different regions around the world that have or utilize different solutions, and pulling that knowledge together is always really valuable. You mentioned the UN and a few different regions. What different countries or regions are involved in the dialogue so far?
Yeah, so it was over 2 parts. So part 1 was held in Denver at our 2024 Water Use Symposium, and part 2 was held at IDRA's World Congress in December of 2024. And between those 2 events, we had 20 total countries that were represented, and an additional 9 countries that were included in the conversation. So participants may have worked in one of these countries and could speak to specific aspects, but didn't feel that they could speak to the entire water use status of that country. So in total, we got about 29 different inputs from various countries. One thing that was, I guess, notable is in part 2, we did have more European countries featured, and I think that speaks to just the location of the conference. And I'd be happy to list the countries that participated if that's of interest.
Yeah, sure. If there's that wide reach and a number of countries involved, it's great to see that real global community coming together. So, yeah, I'd be interested to hear what countries are involved, and maybe it might be a call to action for some of the countries that aren't already involved to join on and be part of this dialogue.
Yes, most definitely. And so that's a great point. This is just the beginning. And so we want more people to come to us. And I'll share my contact information at the end of this. But so some of the countries that were involved, Australia, Brazil, Canada, France, Germany, India, Israel, Italy, Japan, Jordan, Lebanon, Mexico, Netherlands, Palestine, Scotland, Singapore, Switzerland, the United Arab Emirates, the United Kingdom, and the United States. And I'll also mention that the World Bank was a really great partner in this as well. They participated in part 1 and in part 2, and they also brought insights from Chile and Peru, which we didn't have representatives from. So it was very valuable to have them be part of this as well.
Yeah, that's a great cross section of the global community, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
So let's delve into the technical side of things now. So what type of water reuse technologies were being considered in these forums, and what type of initiatives, and what were the applications across these different communities? I sense there's going to be a very different application in different regions.
Well, thank you so much, Tom, and thank you, Monika. This is obviously very wonderful honor to be a part of this international global dialogue. In terms of the types of projects, it actually covered a wide range of projects because the possibilities of water reuse and fit for purpose are actually significantly large. And we we heard about and considered many different sources for water and also many different uses. The range considered practical and simple treatment of wastewater for irrigation, such as for agricultural purposes, as well as many innovative strategies for recycling and reuse of industrial wastewater. And the ultimate type of reuse for wastewater is, of course, when we bring it into drinking water applications. So we've been talking to professionals about highly advanced treatment technologies that reliably and safely convert treated wastewater into drinking water applications for both indirect and direct potable reuse.
Yeah, wow. So there's a lot of different applications, and assumably in different regions, and access to the technology in different countries is always going to be a key point of that. One other challenge that I want to delve into a little bit, and with my background from being involved with different governments, is the regulation aspect of things. So what were the regulations or policies or kind of government processes that could, in some regions, slow down the advancement of water reuse efforts, or potentially in some regions actually speed it up?
Yes. So one thing that we have come across is the World Health Organization, which is a leader in establishing guidelines and providing strategies for safe application of water reuse projects. And then, of course, in the United States is the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, that plays a very critical role in advocating both non-potable and potable water reuse applications around the US. And then multiple participating countries also noted to us that they look at EPA standards and guidelines and they use them within their own jurisdictions because of the significant effort that EPA has developed. In terms of organizations, of course, World Bank and their direct involvement and engagement in part 1 and part 2 with their active participation helped us and is going to continue to help us as we move forward. In the US, we continue to see many state and local authorities that have taken valuable steps in developing their state and local regulations, which has enabled projects to be implemented at the local level. So while the national guidelines are very important, of course, the regulators at the local and state levels play a very direct and critical role that helps us move these projects forward. And then it's important for us to also mention that one organization that plays a critical role in this process is the ICC, the International Code Council. And the reason is that they provide very important tools for safe design and implementation of water reuse projects. Their codes and standards provides guidelines for maintaining public health and safety practices for plumbing, and also preventing cross-contamination when we're talking about various sources of water. So we're grateful for that partnership, and we're happy that we can move forward.
As a way. Another kind of aspect that I wanted to delve into, and I don't like I'm a big sporting fan, so I think to the Olympics and the differences between different countries and different regions when it comes to plumbing and water reuse. So were there any standouts in the different approaches that the different countries have in, I guess, implementing water reuse technologies, but also was there any similarities? I think from a lot of my international work, I do find there's actually surprisingly more similarities in a lot of different countries than people would first think through in first instance.
Yeah, and that's what we found as well. There were a lot of similarities, which was great. So we can see how different policies and different practices can be applied to different areas. So a main big similarity, I believe, as Zohreh mentioned, is that there are not a lot of national water reuse regulations. There are some specific standards, and there are a lot of state and local regulations that can help guide industries and utilities, but that clear national umbrella is relatively limited in the countries that we had participating. Another similarity was the aging workforce in water reuse, which I'm sure you're aware of, and how important bringing the youth into this is. And we can touch on that a little bit later when we talk about our outreach approach. A difference that I'll mention with our dialogue, which I think is very beneficial and something hopeful to look forward to, is the amount of industrial users and interest in this dialogue. I mentioned the UN Water Conference, and I believe their industrial participation was relatively low. And so I think that is a really great thing to see, not just because of their interest, but the amount of water that they use. They can really be drivers in this space, and a lot of industries work globally, and so if they can guide or encourage regulation so that they can set up markets in various different countries, I think that would just aid economic sustainability and resilience. I'll say that a common barrier is public acceptance. There's still the psychology behind it, and so some of the countries mentioned adopting sort of a don't ask, don't tell type of approach, but they're still implementing it, right? And so it's this kind of we know the technology is here, we know it's safe. But how can we communicate it a little bit more effectively? Again, especially in these less developed countries where water sanitation historically hasn't been as safe as it has been in Western countries and in the U.S. So a lot of really interesting information, and we're still working on reviewing all of the responses from our part 2, and excited to detail all those out in the white paper.
Yeah, I think that is a big challenge that a lot of different regions are either working through or have overcome, or at different stages of that race. And it does entail a mindset change to a certain extent. People think of recycled water as unclean or not suitable for its intended use, depending on where it's been used. But I think that just it means bringing the community along for that ride, as well as we implement some of those technologies and have them understand what's the level of stringency that water goes through, and in some cases it's actually monitored to a higher degree than the drinking water is.
Right.
So I think it's a mindset change, but it's bringing the community along for the journey that we're going through, and as we move into the future where water reuse is going to become more important, we need to bring that community along for the ride and have them informed and understanding what what these changes of technology are looking at, and also what it means for them as water consumers.
Right, yeah. Mm.
Yeah, I think it's all quite important. So delving into some of the more innovation space in water reuse technologies, was there anything that came out of these dialogues which was quite unique in the different regions, or from a technology perspective, anything quite advanced in that space?
So what I'll say is we learned a lot of interesting different approaches, unique approaches. Some that stand out is Mexico. They have like an algae pond where the UV from the sun absorbs a lot of the chemicals and pharmaceuticals that they have there. So it's a relatively low cost but effective type of initial treatment. There was also an example of Hong Kong using seawater for toilet flushing and needing specific type of plumbing for that. So that could be, see how that could be applied to coastal cities and other coastal areas. Japan is using gray water for toilet flushing and is also importing looks like hydrogen from Australia, and so it looks like they're doing some cross-sector collaboration there, which is great and very needed. And on touching on the communications piece, Brazil had an effort of changing. I'm blanking on I believe the word was sewage or sewage waste, and they had a public campaign changing that language around it and changing the public understanding and acceptance. And there's a few other ones. One from Ethiopia that we actually learned from our outreach connection. So I think that a lot of the information, a lot of the technologies can be useful, even if they're not necessarily always innovative, just really practical. And again, looking at how we can create solutions that can be implemented globally, but then also with that specific focus on those that are less developed with less access to finance and resources.
Yeah, I think that's a really important part too, because you can have all the greatest technology in the world that can turn sewage into drinking water, for example, but there's got to be the available resources in the different communities to be able to implement that technology. But also there's got to be the capacity within the workforce there to install it and maintain it and continue its operation and serviceable life. So there's all these kind of important considerations that need to go through, and it's really understanding the needs and what the different communities can actually implement with the resources available in that particular location. So really good to see the outreach to some of those communities and seeing what fits in what different regions, and which delves me into kind of the collaboration aspect to it, and delving into this a little bit more just to wrap up our conversation. So from these conversations, we've had a number of different global stakeholders participate, but is there anything that really stands out in the way of collaboration or investment that can really help drive some of the implementation of these reuse solutions?
So I don't know, Zohreh, if you want to start.
Oh, of course, sure. I actually like to continue on what you were adding, Tom and Monika, about the fact that we really look at this as a two-way street. And of course, we have a lot of stuff that we like to share, but we recognize that the global communities have so much to teach us as well. So the platform that we're creating is going to help us. And one of the things that we have been trying is to connect to university professors, because we see that they do have a very valuable role in terms of educating the next generation of water professionals. Monika mentioned the aging workforce, and we know there's so much to be done all over the world. And we've had opportunities to collaborate and invite professors. Actually, there was a University of Palestine professor that participated, and we know that dozens and dozens of students were able to log in. And the fact that we have this setting is allowing us to reach out to so many people, especially the young water professionals. And we had an in-person presentation in Santiago, Chile, and with the professors there, working with them and with the department. And we're trying to work with some professors from Kathmandu, Nepal. And also in the US, we've had opportunities to work with the University of Maryland's Global Water Campus and Global Campus and talk on water reuse. And students have been doing research on those projects. And at the Johns Hopkins University, when we are interacting with the groups of students that do this kind of work with understanding the topics of water challenges and sanitation around the world. And these are all things that are going forward, and we're optimistic that we can do more of them. Monika has more to add, I believe.
Yeah. So there's the benefit of the conferences and sessions like the Global Dialogue, but then also just as Zohreh mentioned, general conversations and accepting invites to speak at universities and submitting abstracts to different conferences. I think one of the big items that we keep hearing about is needing to go across the various sectors. And so what are some other conferences, perhaps energy conferences, development, that we can get engaged with and inform them if they're not even really aware of what we're doing in this space and the amount of opportunity. And I think, the WateReuse Association and IDRA, the International Desalination and Reuse Association, are really primed to be leaders in this space. I think associations we have such access to such a wealth of knowledge in our member base. Experts in, with water reuse, at least I can speak to, utilities, consultants, manufacturers, people that have designed these projects, that have financed them, that have literally built them, that have provided the communications plans. So we have, I believe, all of the pieces that we need. We have the expertise, we have the funders. It's just a matter of kind of piecing them all together. And I think efforts like this, and if you're not aware of the Global Potable Reuse Map that WASA, the Water Services Association of Australia, revamped. These are just really great tools that can help communities that are perhaps early stages of their water reuse journey or looking to venture into different areas. Having tools available and access to what regulations should look like, or what regulations are successful, I should say, or efficient or effective, just really helps and goes a long way when folks are just starting their journey. So I'm very excited for our white paper. We'll have a list of recommendations and action items, and as mentioned, this is just the beginning. So we have an international water reuse committee. Zohreh is our vice chair. Our chair couldn't join us, unfortunately. And we have quarterly meetings where we invite guests. So we've had folks from, as Zohreh mentioned, Morocco, Chile, India, Nepal. They come and they share what they're doing in water recycling, and we allow for those connections. And so I think this is just a really wonderful space to be in, and the opportunity is just incredible. So thank you, Tom, for sharing this message and for giving us a platform to talk about the global dialogue.
I'm absolutely happy to be able to help and share the message and get this information out there, because there's a lot that you do as an organisation in international collaboration that really resonates well with the ICC and aligns with our particular mission. The other aspect to it is you mentioned the jigsaw pieces, which is an analogy that I use all the time, because I think there is an important role that academia play in coming up with some of these solutions that often gets missed, but also so similar to the industry associations. So combining all these level of experience from the industry groups, the knowledge from academia, and coming up with different solutions through codes or standards or information sharing is really an essential element in bringing it all together and then seeing some significant change towards a solution, especially in water reuse and solving water scarcity issues and meeting some of the sustainability goals. So I absolutely applaud everything that you guys are doing in that space, because it really, as I said, aligns with the ICC's objectives and fits really well. So again, I thank you both for your time and sharing some information on the water reuse dialogues and initiatives, and hopefully it will be a bit of a call to action to some countries that haven't been involved in the past, or even some that have and want to get more involved and more active in this, because I think it's a challenge that we can only solve together. So again, thank you for your time.
Very well said. Thank you, Tom. And my information is on our website, so watereuse.org, and go to our committee's page, and you can find my information. We'd love to connect with you. Thank you, Tom.